your question was, what's the effect of a 2 degree C reduction in the air temperature of a city? And while I can't give you the hard answers off the top of my head, what we do is we look at, if you were to cool the air by that much, to what extent do you reduce the electrical power demand of a city? And there, it's really important on those days when the grid is under tremendous electrical strain already. On a day like that, lowering the air temperature by a few degrees C may mean the difference between blackouts or the power continuing without interruption. Even more importantly, especially during a prolonged heat wave, a 2 degree reduction in the outside air temperature will often mean the difference between people getting sick and dying or not. And this is especially true for the elderly, for the infirm, and for those people who live in the most unfortunate parts of a city, particularly those who might live in unconditioned housing on the top floor of a building. Unconditioned just means there's no cooling, and it's often the elderly who live in these sorts of spaces. If you can lower the outside air temperature by a few degrees, that in some cases will mean the difference between people staying alive and healthy or not. Sorry, I can't give you a harder answer, but there's a lot of stuff to go look up.
Yeah, it's a great answer. All right, so then can you describe the economics effects of the urban heat island effect?
That was already.
Yeah, I think that was already answered.
I think this would be a better question.
Oh, right. Okay. So what problems do you think that we are going to face in the future if we do nothing? Like, if we were to do what problems might we face in the future from the urban heat island effect if we didn't enact like cool roofing or other measures?
Sure. This is most easily seen in a broad context. We already know that the climate as a whole is warming. And while the urban heat island effect is not the same as global warming, what we try to do now is focus not on whether there is an urban heat island, because the urban heat island is just the difference in the air temperature inside the city versus outside the city. What we ask is, can the measures that have traditionally been used to reduce the urban heat island effect be used to cool the city? As our planet is warming, if we can do something to cool the environment in which we live through these urban heat island mitigation measures, we can to some extent slow or reverse the warming of our environment. And if you don't take any measures to mitigate the urban heat island, you're allowing global warming to heat our spaces unchecked, and you have all of the usual problems associated with our rising temperatures, which at the simplest level are things like using more electricity to cool our buildings, but more importantly, there are many places in the world where people just don't have air conditioning to weather it's a funny choice of word, but to make it through the hot summers. If you don't have air conditioning, you're now at the mercy of the outside air temperature, and whatever we can do to lower that outside air temperature is going to make people's lives better.
Okay, awesome.
Sure.